Excellent. So, kind of purposely left it pretty indescript as to who it was assisting you all, for general reasons of just getting those two players in on that day. But for what it's worth, I feel like it fits perfectly well that you all still have some access effectively to those same two groups. So I am curious if we were to pick up in those kind of same moments after the initial battle, if you all have anything in particular in mind that you would like to do while you are still in the camp of the Reg Nomads of the Tiger Tribe.
Um, Trey would he would go and pick up Johan's body and go into his mother's tent, or well, Johan, the tribe leader's tent. Can't really call her a mother because she tried sacrificing him. And go ahead and just pull out his leatherworking tools, try and sew his head back on, and then prepare the body for funeral rites.
It's definitely a grim one, but you can most certainly do that.
Well, I figure it's like I don't know if like it'll be like, hey, you show up to Elysium with your head unattached to you, so you just get to carry your head around the rest of your life in Elysium or whatnot. So I figured it'd be like maybe this will be helpful to him in the long run. But yes, totally dark. But that's what Trey would be doing during this time.
Search around for any maps or any kind of topography insight to the region. I don't know if they keep maps or not, but
You could do a perception check. You guys have already looted the camp, technically speaking. Looking around through most things, it doesn't appear to be that they keep any sort of written records here. Does anyone else have any other ideas of things that you would like to do with the Reg Nomads? Otherwise, if you all are all set, we can move forward.
Nothing though.
Any thoughts from you, Brennick?
I mean, aside from maybe just scavenging some some food. I guess the question would be: do we want to try and use the use the tents and stuff to get in some rest here and try and not exactly you kind of lost a little track of what time it is with the fight and everything, or if we want to push ahead immediately. Or I guess another option is no, never mind.
I think I have you all as vaguely 11 p.m., so I think you are still deep in that actual night.
Then I would vote for staying here then.
yeah, let's set guard.
Yeah.
Shit, it just slipped my mind. Oh, scavenging for food. If you would like, you can roll either survival, medicine, or could do an investigation or perception for anybody who would like to.
For survival, can I butcher the tiger?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm offering you all is right now that you can collect food because they have plenty of actual meat here anyways.
Nice. Be that saber-tooth sash.
Make me a fur coat.
I want one of the things.
It's all yours.
Alrighty, so I would say you all can collect. Effectively, this is more like a kind of group thing, depending on how much you want to walk away with this. But 7 pounds of just some of the actual kind of like nicer organ meats from the reindeer kill that they had in the center of the camp. You can have up to 6 pounds of kind of meat that still looked good from what Jinbao was able to find. You can get up to 68 pounds of um, the kind of backstrap from the actual saber tooth that Trey was able to clean, and Valixis is able to recover another like 54 pounds of more backstrap, which is likely from some previous reindeer kills that seems to already be in the process of basically being turned to jerky. Effectively, that is me saying you all have like 7 pounds of really nice organ meat that you should eat pretty quickly. um 6 pounds of meat that is kind of ready to be turned into jerky. 68 pounds of really nice meat that would be kind of good for either, and then 54 pounds of rations.
That's a lot of meat to carry.
It was a camp of about like 40 people, so it's a lot.
Yeah, well, I would say we cook up this this meat from the freshest kill and take what we think we can use. I don't know, would it be feasible to, I don't know, bury and freeze or store some of the other meat to return and get it later, or just take it with us and use what we can of it.
Okay. Um, let's start eating some organs over toasty fire.
Oh, and Brennick would also be kind of, while we were scouting or kind of scavenging through the camp, he'd be looking for a um like a short sword or some sort of more kind of regular looking weapon than just his dagger, because he was very unhappy about, or not unhappy, he felt almost like kind of naked without his the orb when it was taken from him, and he wants to try and avoid that situation in the future. So he's thinking perhaps if he carries something that looks more like a, normal soldier's weapon or adventurer's weapon, maybe it will be less likely that someone would think to search him for um, less or more unusual things. So he would just be looking for something to kind of, not even to use, more to almost just kind of like carry on himself.
That is perfectly fine. You can certainly find something like a short sword. I'm going to point out to you, it's pretty obvious when wizards are adventuring because they're people who don't wear armor. People who are adventurers and not wearing armor tend to be spellcasters. And magic users is not terribly unfamiliar to people who live dangerous lives. I would say perhaps more what you really want to find with Brennick is actually getting something like a component pouch or starting to hide very particular components on your person.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because that, again, that's part of like what I was talking about with Darcy at one point when she wanted to get some bat guano. If you hide bat guano on your person, it's really easy for you to like lean over and itch your ankle as you basically take some bat guano into your finger, and you can cast a fireball from basically being in manacles kind of thing. Versus trying to pretend that you're not a wizard means you've got to wear armor. And if you wear armor, you can't cast spells. So it kind of solves the problem for people who would be skeptical of you. And at very least, that's my take on it as a DM, is that if you're out there doing crazy shit and you're not wearing armor, it usually means it's because you have access to magic.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, in that case, then he might just look for like a backup dagger so that if he throws one, he'll have a second one for, emergency use. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say as far as daggers go, most any given person has some sort of knife on their person, because that was the primary eating tool for people in these ages. It was long before the idea of forks. So most of these people always have some sort of knife. If you are looking for one backup dagger, you can 100% find it. If you want to find more daggers, let me get like a D100 from you.
I think he'd be okay with one. I mean, he's not going to be using them all that often. So
Yeah, so you can definitely throw a dagger on there.
Did we get a chance to collect Bjornhilda's weapon?
You all can take a great axe from that. The weapon itself doesn't seem to be anything special.
Okay.
If the listeners looking around, will she see anything unusual or anything that might have any kind of magical properties that we could have possibly missed in the chaos of the fight?
I mean, as far as things go, usually once you all search, that is the limit of it. You cannot search ad infinitum. So I would say no. You would have some impression that the magic users in this group were a very different thing than yourself and Brennick, where you all are kind of writ knowledgeable. They are kind of students of the earth and students of nature. And while I use the word druid just because that combat kind of boils down for a long time, the fact of the matter is they were druids. So it's a different kind of magic than what you use.
So I can't just walk up and steal the magic.
Nope, not at all. Completely different kind of magic.
Okay.
Hey, Valixis, you know how you can find out if something's magical or not? Set everything on fire, and whatever stays left is probably something special.
You see, the last time I did that, I turned around and my tail had a little flame on it too.
Ah, that's funny.
So if you all are all set, let me have each of you roll a d12, please. It's destined to be a 1. So you all can rest in the camp and pick up that next morning. Kind of been hoping to get the full group together for kind of a minute here, but this is definitely kind of the planned moment where I wanted to have you all gain level 6. Has everybody prepared and figured out what they would like to do for their next level?
I have to take a look at it real quick. Probably just going to be another level wizard. Um, unless what I'm thinking about moving to like having a functional first class player, but I might just take a level wizard. And I still didn't add another spell, so I still got more spell to add from previous levels. I was just looking through them. I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's so many choices.
Gotcha. In general, that's fine. Now you've kind of missed a few, so it's definitely a quick level for you for sure. But if you decide to go another round of wizard, that will be another d6 from you.
I'm gonna go for another level in fighter.
Gotcha. I believe that will be a d10. Roll one more d10. So I think that should put you at 41 hit points rolled.
And I'll be taking the next level on monk.
I believe it is a d8 for a monk. And that should put you at 33 hit points rolled.
I think I am going to multi-class into rogue with Brannick.
So you can roll a d8. That should put you at 29 hit points rolled. So in general, as far as that all goes, you all can basically wake up that next morning. You will once again have the blessing of the Morning Lord, where everybody will start off with 10 temporary hit points on top of your maximum hit points. You all can kind of finish the actual rolls kind of as we're progressing forward here. But in general, when you all are kind of preparing this next morning of Myrtle the 5th, the month of melting, which will never come in Icewind Dale, you are effectively nearing the point that Johann had planned for you all to turn north. You all would understand that he had a plan to effectively follow this valley or these rivers, this like frozen riverbed, until it split in two, and try to progress north from there to the location where the White Lady had pointed out, hoping that it would be effectively straight north from you at that point. But you all are kind of in this moment, and when you are ready, how would you like to set off into the wilderness?
Sorry, I was just double checking what choices I had to make for the multi-classing. But I think essentially we're just kind of continuing on our original plan, right? Unless anyone has other ideas.
No, we're already out here, so
Yeah, might as well. Yeah, might as well continue on with what our plan was. Keep moving forward.
Agreed.
So I think we were essentially trying to continue on until we hit the fork in the river, and then start north from there with that idea that that would take us towards where we think the Spire might be.
So, without Johan to lead the group, you all can effectively make the decision on who would like to lead the group here. For what it is worth, you can have two people roll a survival check. Try not to metagame it. Just decide who would lead the group when you have Johan gone.
Brannick seems to be the smartest, so I would suggest Brannick, at least for the moment, until we can get to town and suggest.
How about Brennan?
I'm willing to give it a shot.
We're behind you.
So it sounds like just Brannick is going to roll. Let me get a survival from you.
Since we all support him, can he get advantage?
Nope, not at all. Because none of you have survival. It's quite literally how I reward people for having stuff, is that you then have the choice to either each of you can roll survival, or you can actually assist somebody because you have expertise in it.
Hey, extra wet in it?
Not truly expertise, because expertise is something that rogues and bards have. But effectively, if you have a skill, that means that you have the ability to assist somebody in doing that. But it also means that you can actually do it too.
Shit, I don't have it.
None of you have it. Brennick was the only one.
That's hilarious.
Why would you need survival in a survival campaign? It's not like they tell you it's a survival campaign in the name of calling it a survival campaign.
Makes it more challenging. Nah, but no, honestly, I had no idea. I did not realize I didn't have it.
I guess really I will have to check. Like, Brennick, you probably got extra proficiencies as well with that level, right?
Yes, but survival is not a rogue. It's not one of the rogue skills.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, I was thinking maybe like with the idea that like he's been traveling with Johan and stuff for not long enough, he's picked up a few things, but it's not an option, so it's not on their class list of skills.
Yeah, that's where you have to like have been kind of strategic in picking up like all of the other skills to get a free choice out of it. So you all are going to progress forward in relative ease. A very little snowfall. There's still high winds. It's probably like 20 or so mile-an-hour winds. A little bit of snowfall, a little bit of snow kind of brushing past you all, coming off of the actual glacier itself. Probably a few hours into the day, you are going to come to the point where in view is the actual like convergence of these two meltwater rivers, one coming off from the south, kind of southeast, and one coming off from the north, kind of northeast. And around this time, let me get a perception from the group. Actually, probably Jinbao and Trey, really. When I say that, does Brennick now have perception?
No, I have investigation, not perception.
Gotcha, I had that as one of your old ones. I'm going to add ones, though, so I'm on top of it.
Yeah, and then for the expertise, I picked.
I don't keep track of that. Like expertise, that'll show up in your actual rolls. What is it? You really just gained insight, right? I had all the other ones. You got like 1 extra skill and 2 expertise.
Yeah, yeah. When you multi-class in, you only get 1 of them. Yeah, and then the
Gotcha.
2 expertise. Yeah.
So yeah, off in the distance. Let me actually determine what direction. Kind of coming off of that like southeastern spur of the river ahead of you all, probably about a quarter mile ahead at this point. Um, while you all are kind of progressing and coming to this realization that you are at the point that Johann had planned to turn north. Um, Trey is going to notice that there are 5 figures kind of moving across the snow in that direction. Any thoughts about what you would like to do when Trey notices them?
Is Trey able to discern about how far off they are?
They're in that direction, so they're, you're approximately a quarter of a mile, if not further, from them. Other than that, at present, you all basically have that there is movement and that there are people moving.
Gotcha.
Could also be the type of thing that it's like 5 giants who are 40 feet tall and they're a half mile away. Or it could be something like 5 kobolds and they're like 20 feet away. It's really hard to tell. That was a dig at how short kobolds were, Felixus.
Well, we got caught with our pants down last time, so
Wait, what?
Yes. If these 5 are moving, perhaps it's some sort of hunting party or something. If it's just 5, if they are unfriendly, we could take them. But I would suggest we get a bit of a closer look if we can.
Yeah. If they're friendly, then right before maybe make a few friends out here. Otherwise, no need to get into an unnecessary squabble with them.
I'm sure this will be the friendly group.
What were you thinking there, Brennick?
Oh, I was gonna say like I mean Brannick could offer to kind of move forward to try and get a closer look, given that and maybe accompanied by Velixis, because if they are hostile, then we might be able to engage them from a bit of a distance if we need to. But we can also, if we want to just go as a group, that works too. Or have the others go forward and have us hold back. Either one of those could work too.
What do you say, Spark?
I say, you know, either way, this whole land is a shit show. I think we can either avoid them or we can confront them, and however it goes down, it goes down. And best be prepared for anything. Um, but my question is this in the way of where we're getting to, and do we need to go around?
I guess there's only one surefire way to know.
If you're actively asking me, I already tried to describe that these are on the southwestern or southeastern spur. and you guys are coming to the point where you know you have to go north. And just to clarify, south and north are opposite directions.
Wait. You know,
They haven't noticed us. They're just they're continuing on their current path.
You guys are a ways away from these people. At this point, you don't necessarily have any reason to know whether they've noticed you or if they have any sense that you've noticed them. This is purely trying to give you all an option because Trey rolled pretty good to notice that there is something happening.
I say we continue on. Don't want to try to. If they're not in the same direction that we're headed, then there's no point in us in trying just going out of our way to interact with them. They could be just headed home or headed back online.
At the same token, though, I'd like to know who else is out here. And if there are only 5 of them, I'm fairly certain we could handle ourselves if need be.
Okay.
I guess we're doing this. So I guess we're just gonna check it out then. Is that what everyone's up to?
Well, I mean, if the others prefer to just leave it alone as well, Braddock's not going to push for it. I'm not trying to like tell everybody how to do it. I'm just saying that's what Braddock's idea. So
Well, since we haven't, I agree. Since we're out this way and we haven't seen anybody, let's investigate.
Two
Together.
for investigate, or is that a third with Felixis agreeing?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, that's a third one, but let's just go on ahead and agreeing.
All right, so unless Trey is vehemently against this and wants to convince the others that this is a very bad idea, I would say then, are you all going with Brennick's initial idea that he wants to go with the casters first and perhaps they can handle them if something does happen? Or do you all want to approach in a different way?
yeah, Braddock's rethinking that initial idea. He thinks maybe it's best we stick together.
But Brandy, don't you and Velixis, the casters, the people without armor, want to go potentially walk up to a bunch of we don't know, maybe cannibals? I mean, I think it's a great idea. I'm joking. Let's stick together as a group.
Yeah, I'm right behind you, Trey.
So more or less progressing forward, just all 4 of you together, perhaps with Trey and the Jinbao and then the 2 casters at the back.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Gotcha. What were you thinking there, Felixis?
Just agreeing with.
Excellent. So as you all approach, if you are walking out pretty clearly, let me have perception checks. I think let's go Jinbao and Trey. Trey, you can have advantage. So as you all progress forward, it's going to become pretty clear pretty quickly that these are tiny little creatures. And by the time you're approaching maybe like, what is it, 1,400 feet is a quarter of a mile? So maybe like 500 feet or so away, Trey, you're going to be looking at Velixis, looking ahead of you. Looking at Velixis, looking ahead of you. These are 5 kobolds.
Alexis, Brandon, we got 5 kobolds ahead of us. Haven't had too much interaction with them. How would you like me to proceed?
Well, we've run into a few before this. The ones we'd met earlier were looking to put themselves into service of a dragon that lives in these parts, but I imagine Alexis, of course, would be able to converse with them. I don't imagine they'd be likely to attack us outright.
I wouldn't mind. So yeah, Felicia's would like just gonna probably approach them a little closer and start and wave one of her hands to try to get their attention. And possibly call out to them a little bit as well to get their attention.
So in general, they probably haven't really noticed you all coming up for quite some time, until you're kind of closing a little bit further in here, where they seem to kind of react. Little bit of sense that perhaps they've got like a little bit of panic to them as of how close you are, before it becomes a little bit more apparent of what you yourself are. When after some time they're going to approach perhaps with a little bit of hesitancy, a little bit of kind of like a coy nature to it, but you'll have these kind of 5 kobolds approaching your group, pretty much straight in front of you, almost in like a kind of triangle position of one is closest, approaching directly towards Velixis, and kind of replies to your hail. Inside of the actual winds of Icewind Dale, it's more or less that you all are kind of like mouthing a hello until you're pretty close to each other, when speech kind of like quickly goes from having to yell 20 feet away to barely hear each other to you're pretty much standing right next to each other and able to converse. But they don't appear to be approaching you with any kind of hostility, and will kind of approach forward and... Are you traveling with these big folk? Do they feed you?
Yeah, I'm traveling with them right now. Yeah, they do feed me. They're not treating me like a pet. Don't worry.
We have come from the spine. Are starving. Our clan is dying. We need a home. We need a dragon. Kind of like look around the rest of your group here and... Have you found the white dragon?
Felix is kind of just looks back at the group and at Brandon and explains what the what they just said, what they asked, and she's well, one, she wants to know if she can give them some of the meat that we have so that they can have food for a little while for the trip, and what we should tell them about the dragon that we see, since they're asking about it.
Brannick would suggest that perhaps we could offer some food for some information. If they've come from the spine of the world, perhaps they have some. They could tell us a bit about kind of what they've seen on their, on their travels, of their, you know. I mean, he's not opposed to giving them some of the food. We have more than we need, but he thinks maybe it could be a good idea to try and essentially barter some of it for some information if we can.
Very well. So Melissa turns back towards the kobolds, and she explains that we do have some food, and we'd be willing to part ways with some of it. We just want to know a little information about their travels from the spawn of the world that they came from, and things that they've seen on their way here.
You'll see a little spark to their eye, and the one that's kind of in the front is going to respond. We will trade you speech for food. What do you want to know?
Felix turns back to the group and asks what questions they would like to ask the kobolds.
I'd say one thing is, what do you know that we can do you know what we could expect ahead of us, and like where are we going in comparison? Like, did they come that way that where we're going? Or if they've been that way and gotten lost, what do they know about this area coming from the spine? And if there's any tribes, any hostiles, anything along those lines? And I'll go ahead and take out 10 pounds of the saber tooth meat and hand it to Valixis.
Okay, so Felicitas takes the meat. She turns back to the kobolds and she asks, um, from the direction that they came, did sh um, did they see anyone that might seem hostile that we should probably avoid? And did they, since their heads seem to be headed southeast, did they come from the north, northwest, or did they come from north? And if there's, like I said, if there's any hostiles or anything, we should avoid any other people out there that they may have seen.
Are you all taking out a map and basically describing Icewind Dale to them? How are you all kind of showing them this geography lesson?
Alexis comes to this realization and turns back to the group and says, I need a map.
So if you take some time to kind of like show them a map and more or less like show them kind of this like tripartite area where there are these meltwaters and the stream that leads into Lake Dineshire, kind of going to get the response from a kobold that they are coming down from the spine of the world. So they are in fact more or less traveling north along this actual uh, river here, and that this is basically their path, and kind of where they are meeting you all at present is what would appear to be this point where it is leading left and west towards the rest of kind of Icewind Dale. They don't have anything good to say about the area where they've been. It is a frozen wasteland in the mountains, and there's next to no food. There's no dragons. There are effectively, not sure if they would use so many words, but orcs and barbarians. There's hostile humans. Perhaps might be the most detail that they have.
Okay, so Felicitas turns back towards the group and explains to them what the kobolds explained to her about there being orcs and other creatures out there and humans, and that is basically just a barren, frozen wasteland and with no food and no dragons.
So pretty much where we are now, except without big rocks.
Essentially,
Brennick's going to see if Elixis is able to like describe what the Chardolin, like that black kind of icy rock substance looks like, and see if um have these, is this the sort of thing that can be found in the spine of, like, the kobolds? Have they seen something that looks like this before, like up in the spine of the world or in the mountains where they've come from?
Having passed on the information, I think most of what you're going to gather is a whole lot of confusion. And I think that'll pretty solidly answer that Chardolin is probably well beyond these creatures.
All right, so Felix, I'm sorry. So Felix does hand over the initial 10 pounds of meat to the kobolds for them, and thanks them for the information. Um, she does take a portion of what is hers from her coat, a portion of her rations, and hands it to them as well. Additionally, and again, thanks them for the information. And she turns back to the group to ask, is there anything else y'all might want to ask them, or before we head on our way?
Well, I think they've been mighty forthcoming, and I know that they're searching for shelter and food, etc. Do you want to give them directions and where we came from? Because I mean, no one's going to be living in that tribe or in that alcove for quite some time, and might give them some safety until they're able to find a patron.
That's a good idea. So Felix turns back to the kobolds and explains the direction that they came from, and explains to them that there is shelter over there, that they could probably rest over there for a little while, um, and that they may be able to take the time to take a breather. And if they look around, they might find some extra, may find a little bit of extra food if there wasn't, if they missed from what they initially went over there through.
Roll an insight check for me, Vilixis, at advantage. So, as they respond to you with kind of like thankful and, I don't know how detailed a kobold really is about a lot of things, but many dragon blessings upon you. You have a reasonable suspicion that they're a little bit too happy with this little extra bit of detail, and it kind of dawns on you that you showed them a map of 10 towns, and they know how to get to the 10 towns now, and perhaps they got everything that they wanted.
Felix kind of gives like a smile and says thank you, and offers her condolences and safe travels. She turns back to the group and explains, I guess something feels a little off about the fact that she gave them this information. Like they may have shown a little bit too much excitement, or about uh, seeing the map as if they already understood the map. At the moment they looked at it, it's just that they didn't have one, and now they know where they need to head. So, kind of wondering what if we should just go ahead and head on, or what.
Well, I mean, can you ask them if they're hostile to humans and the towns in this area? Because I mean, if they are, I mean, I know, the Dwarven Valley, they will definitely not take kindly to them, and well, I mean, if they are if they are against everyone here, that means they're also against us too, to a degree, aren't they?
I mean, I don't Maybe. I mean, I guess it would depend. Because I understand as a kobold and coming from a kobold, we're not really treated well by larger people. And what, in the words that my kind puts it, we're not really. Aside from you guys, sometimes when kobolds come across other adventures or whatnot, it's normally attack first, ask questions later. Can you really blame them for that?
Brannick's going to try to whisper to the others. I can try and get a sense of their thoughts. We let them perhaps get a little bit past us. I can get a sense, and then if I sense they might be a threat, we can take care of them.
Yeah, I guess that would be fair. If they're a threat to, if they're trying to go for the towns and whatnot, I guess that would be fair enough. If we can't convince them otherwise.
Roll an intelligence for me, Brennick. I feel like Brennick was with the group. Was Brennick a part of the group when you all helped the dwarves in the Dwarven Valley? When you helped the Stone Shield dwarves?
I think Carvath was still with the group at that point.
Gotcha. Therein lies the problem with killing everybody off. Continue.
Well, Carvath's, as far as I know, he's all good, warm and not warm, but comfortable down in Goodmead. But yeah, Brannick is more going off of like Felixus's suspicion and thinking, possibly this is some sort of scouting party or something like that, based on what Felixus is kind of sussed out.
Well, you should at least make it clear to them that the people here are not very hospitable.
I think Felixus has already clarified with you all. Kobolds don't expect hospitality from big folk. Kobolds live an existence very close to what half-orcs have. You're usually looked at as an enemy, and somebody gives you at least a little bit of a leeway that if you don't attack right now, perhaps you're going to attack tomorrow. If you don't attack tomorrow, perhaps you're going to attack the day after. But in general, kobolds are looked at pretty poorly by most humans. Which, in their defense, I mean, most kobolds serve dragons for a reason. So when you all walk away, are you going to delve into their minds?
Yeah, Brannick's going to focus on the um I guess probably the one that was, if there was one that was talking more than the others, he would thinking maybe that one is sort of a leader of this group. He would focus on that one.
What was that spell again? What's it called?
Detect thoughts. I can post it.
But the first one is just the actual like surface.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
surface
so
stuff.
I think surface wise, you're going to get little more than kind of their elation. Um and probably simply that they at least have a prospect.
Yeah, I think I would try to delve deeper. So I'd have to make a DC 15 Wisdom save. Shake his head a bit. Can't get much of a read on them.
Well, I mean, point standing, like Felix has said, I mean, when you go through the world and most of the time everyone is shit to you, you know, they've given they've done shown nothing but, you know, good words and you know, fair trade in between sharing of information. So um I think we can, you know, keep going on and leave them be. And just like anyone else, if we experience them and would be hostile to those that are worthy of, you know, be keeping safe, um, you know, it's a whole different story. But you know, I say let's just keep the ball rolling.
When you probe deeper, Brennick, the creature is going to look you in the eye, and as it kind of figure out what's happening, it's going to yell out again in Kobold, but this whole conversation has been in Kobold. What are you doing? Are you a dragon? And it will very clearly, like, its attitude has changed.
So Brannick will glance towards Velixis because he doesn't speak Draconic, I guess, or
Yeah, Draconic, not Kobold.
But Alexis just kind of holds her head down in shame and asks Brandon to stop peering into the mines. If they've not done anything wrong just yet, then they have no right to probe deeper into their minds without permission. Quite frankly, right now we're the bad guys for doing this.
tell them we're just trying to cover our backs. I'm sure they'd understand. Though, now that I think of it, if they are planning on heading into town, I suppose they'd be most likely to reach East Haven first, and it's not as if that place was particularly welcoming to us. So let them deal with them.
It's and Civilist comes looks back. It's like it is only 5 of them. It's not like they can do much. It doesn't feel like any of them are magic like I am, or can use magic the way I can. So for now, let's just let them be. If it turns out that they have done wrong, then I will take it upon myself to handle it. If that is okay with the rest of you, since they are my kind.
Brannick will give a small nod. Fair enough.
And if you need any assistance either way, it rolls down the road or snowballs uphill or downhill, Alexis, you have my support.
Thank you. She turns back to the kobolds and she apologizes for what they were doing. She explains what essentially what they were doing, or what was happening, and she again apologizes to them for that and states that they will go ahead and be on their way.
Make a persuasion for me. Um, Perhaps a little bit confused, perhaps making a little bit of sense. It's just going to kind of wink at you and like kind of say its goodbyes with maybe a little like kind of like throwback, like kind of like to the effect of like, you're lucky that you found your own dragon to follow. But thank you, friend. And with that, they're just going to start heading off past you all to the west.
Oh, shall we continue north, my friends?
Sounds about right.
Wait, Felicia agrees to go ahead and move forward, but then she kind of realizes something. When they kind of does she notice this change of direction immediately?
What do you mean?
You said they left and head west. Does she notice that they changed direction immediately? Because at first you said they were southeast.
Yeah, like you all were heading east, and they were to your southeast. When they described where they were coming from the spine of the world to the southeast, and they were heading northwest. So they have continued. It is the same direction that they have been heading.
Okay, my apologies. I misunderstood the direction that they were going. I thought they were headed southeast. Okay.
They've basically continued from like the red dot in the spine of the world down that pink line to where the circle and the red kind of combine, and now they're heading west along the route that you all have come from. So when you all are prepared, if you are still following Brennick, you can roll another survival for me.
I did go ahead and when sorry, hold on, let me get out of the southern accent. I did when I leveled up. I took the skilled feat. After you had mentioned it is a survival campaign, so I do have proficiency in survival now.
So you can roll survival. So as you all head out of the kind of like gully is much too small, but like the ravine where these watersheds kind of run as they're heading towards Lake Dineshire, kind of head out of it, and it's again like one of those moments where you're kind of reminded of the constant northern winds, and you are now kind of walking directly into these winds coming off of the Red Glacier. And this going is a little bit more delayed as you're kind of like walking into this wind that's constantly blowing you back. But through the rest of this kind of like afternoon or like midday into the afternoon, progress is getting slower and slower. You're picking up further and further into an actual blizzard conditions, where it's pretty quick that you can see little further than the actual group itself kind of ahead of you all. But the struggle kind of continues on, and if you all would like, you can continue into this actual blizzard. You can kind of take rests here, but you can kind of figure out what you would like to do, and if you would like, you can push forward.
Brandon?
I was going to defer to you. You're the one leading us at this point. I will say, in my experience, it's sometimes best to try to hunker down during blizzards, but we can press on if you think that's the better course.
Well, I feel like it's really you know walking into a blizzard. I feel like it's something we should all agree on. I mean, I'm a big boy and I think I'll be fine, but Alexis, I'm afraid of you getting blown away. And Jinbao, I mean, we all have our opinions.
I think since it's getting closer to night, perhaps it's best we pick a spot to hunker down.
Agreed. Hey, what do you mean you're afraid of me getting blown away? You say
My
that.
bad. So let's try and find a place that's less blizzardy than what we see in front of us and around us.
You can roll perception checks with a disadvantage. I think it'll be limited to Jinbao and Trey. So you can find a little bit of a gully that seems to have at least like a little bit of shielding from the northern wind, and perhaps you can kind of dig down a little bit in it to make a more permanent shelter, or if you all just want to kind of hunker down next to each other, you can kind of put like a tarp behind you and allow the snow to kind of fall over your heads.
How long have we been traveling for now?
You're probably most of the way through the day to where it's maybe a few hours until you expect the aurora to give way.
Uh, I say let's just I mean we lost one yesterday. I say let's go ahead and set up and set shelter.
That sounds fine to me. Let's take a bit of time, try to make it a little more comfortable if we can. Less uncomfortable, I should say.
Where'd you put that saber tooth first, Jerry?
The uh, pull out this giant backpack, and it's all mainly just tiger pelts. It's right here. I still gotta get work on. It still gotta be treated and stuff, but thankfully the cold is taking care of it. But we can definitely use it to keep ourselves warm this night.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
So you all can hunker down and try to make a little bit of additions to your shelter. You can do um, probably just gonna fall into throwing it at Trey to do a survival here. So it's got pretty good packing snow in this area. You are able to cut pretty good blocks of snow and kind of make like a top like third of an igloo. And by the time you cut out the actual squares to make the igloo, you have a pretty solid kind of rounded area. It's not going to be tall enough for any of you humans to stand. Velixis could probably jump inside of it, but everybody can more or less comfortably sit inside of it.
It's times like these I enjoy being 3 foot tall.
Times like these, I hate being 6'4".
So you all have the extent or the rest of this day ahead of you, before eventually the aurora is going to give way in a pretty close time frame as to when the blizzard starts to let up. But what do you all have in mind for the rest of your night?
When we were at the camp of the Tiger Tribe, they had a really, really strong alcohol. Could we have grabbed that?
In general, asking about stuff like that when you are there is a wonderful time to ask that.
Heard that.
I would say if you're thinking about it a day later, you're probably regretting that you did not think about it a day earlier.
Yep.
I can say it not the most palatable thing in my experience. I did try a bit while we were there. Only just barely managed to keep it down.
Well, Trey's just gonna fiddle around with his tools, clean them, sharpen them. Um, that's about it until it's time to rest. And
I think this kind of just pulls out a sheet of paper and that she has a drawing on and just kind of looks at it. And then she looks off in the direction towards where the kobolds off, where they left the kobolds. She just kind of just gets lost in thought.
Yeah, Brannick will suggest that we set a watch order for the night, and then uh, he's going to, if we have some time before actually sort of bedding down, he might spend a little bit of time starting to copy a spell or two into his backup spell book. And he can take the first watch if they want, if we want to just set the order.
Yeah, so I would say you probably have 4 hours during the day that you could spend working on your spell book. So depending on what spells you're trying to copy, that should give you at least a little bit of a idea on what you have time for. And with that, let me get 2 perceptions from you. So I would say on some level, you all probably have the entrance on either kind of like the southeastern side or like the southwestern side of this, as it is effectively barred against the winds to the north. So if you all want to decide which side the entrance is, that will be one thing for you all to determine. And then I'm also going to need everyone to roll for initiative.
I don't know, what do you say, southwest for the entrance, or
I'd agree with Southwest. The Lixus, you got to click on your token and then hit initiative.
I always forget to do that.
I used to do the same thing for the longest time, and you eventually learn it when you do it enough times. Jinbao, you also have to click on your token. Oh, okay, there you go.
What do we got? 22 for Velixis.
Mara, if I think you said Brannick had like 4 hours with his spell book. If he had taken one of those hours to kind of just like, could he have done sort of like a short rest for purposes of his arcane recovery? So just using 3 hours with the book and then 1 hour of kind of recharging, as it were.
That's kind of a tough spot to say in the long run. You've got to let me know on those things that you want to do a short rest as soon as you can, kind of thing. You can go for it, but you can't just short rest when you have free time. You're specifically short resting during those times, but you can do it now. But that's the type of thing, like, you have to say, I want to take some time with my book, but I need a short rest first. Or, if the evening's getting on, I need a short rest as soon as possible, and then I'm trying to do this. There's a certain level of just because time passes does not mean you can just short rest. You kind of have to let it be known that you're trying to.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I guess he also would have been also kind of like helping here and there with the, setting up the camp and stuff. So it's fine. I'll
It's the same type of thing to me. Like, if you all are trying to long rest and some time goes by, it does not mean that you can get a short rest because there's a fight that you now know about. The fact of the matter is like, if you want a short rest before a long rest, you need a short rest and then try to start a long rest. That's at least my take on it, because I think they're two different things.
Yep, no, makes sense.
Are we all just being quiet, or is my audio dropped?
Every single time we have to start a combat, I have to do all of the setting up.
Okay, just double checking.
Every single time there's combat, I am going to be doing stuff instead of trying to talk to keep you all entertained.
Okay, I'm just asking a question.
So I've been wondering how much does Velixus weigh?
Have been about 3 feet. I think no more than about. I'm trying to remember actually. I put it in there before. Let me take a look. Hold on.
Because I'm wondering if it's possible to. I mean, I'm sure he'll let me try, but I wonder if it would be possible during battle to like swing in if she was in trouble, have you climb on, and then have me do like step of the wind to
You
take
are
you
not
out.
a mount.
So that would not be a viable.
You can grapple, and you can carry Velixis as a grapple, but you are not a mount. Velixis cannot ride you. You do not have the anatomy for it.
She's about 27 pounds, and she, yeah, she does have claws on her back, on her feet. So that probably would be, even if allowed, that probably wouldn't have been a good idea. So it would have been hella hilarious.
I was thinking like piggyback style,
Cobalt riding in the battle on a giant human. Yeah, that'd be weird. I would laugh.
I'm picturing you invisible, just dropping you off somewhere in the middle of the field.
To be honest, I thought you were going to ask if you could throw her.
I did too. I honestly thought that she was about to just that, but yeah.
You find like a little spiked helmet to put on her head, and then throw her like a dart.
You really want this 3-foot kobold to bite you on your ankles, no?
I was thinking more unorthodox battle strategy.
Now, if the winds are strong enough and we put you on like one of those giant kites, you could just fireball from downhill.
Felix just turns and looks at y'all, sensing the bullshit conversation y'all having about how y'all could use her as a miniature projectile. And she just glares. She glares heavily at y'all like, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Then don't you dare.
Yeah, perhaps we shouldn't give Trey any ideas.
Okay, all right, Jimbo. How about this? I'll go ahead and get on your back, and you go run, and you can be my mount.
I think even on my back, your feet are still going to be touching the ground.
Just dragging me.
That is one bulky cape.
Brennick, I need you to roll a perception check at advantage. So you are going to startle 2 as you recognize that you've kind of fallen asleep on your watch and immediately recognize that there is a regged nomad standing over you. Spear at the ready. What is Brennick thinking?
Immediate thought is, oh shit. Do in the moment, do I notice anything that might suggest what like tribe, like do I see any
If you want more details, that's going to start taking actions. If you would like to roll a perception, you are more than welcome.
no, I think he's just gonna he's gonna call out hold, seeing the spear at the ready, but kind of trying to do it loudly enough to try and wake at least one of the others.
All right, you can make a persuasion.
This is not a good night for you.
Jimbo, roll a perception check for me. While you are sleeping this evening, you are going to hear the voice of Brennick inside of your dreams as the person you are dreaming of suddenly has Brennick's voice, and they're holding out their hand to you and saying, "Hold!" What is Jimbo doing?
I am waking up to see what's going on.
There seems to be a person standing over Brennick, and Brennick is holding out his hands trying to basically hold back this spear point that is in his face.
Well, stunning strike, I guess.
You're going to attack from the ground, or are you going to stand up first?
I will stand up.
Half your movement to stand up and not be prone, and you can roll that attack. The person is going to place their spear delicately into Brennick's shoulder blade for 6 points of piercing damage, Brennick. Oh, wait, my bad. Those were d6, not d8. Sorry. 15 points of piercing damage, Brennick. And as you strike out at the person, they are just aware enough of your movements that they pull to the side, and they're going to miss your strike.
I can do my additional attacks as well.
Yep, you can do all of your attacks.
And I'll use
That second one will hit. You still looking to apply a stunning strike?
Yep.
You don't see any signs of his muscles stiffening or anything stopping, and your third attack will miss.
I think that's it for me. Actually, I'd like to draw my longsword if it is possible to do so.
You can pull it with your free action. Yeah, that's fine.
And then that will kick in my agile parry for +2 AC.
Gonna have to say that shit a little bit before you actually attack in the future, because technically you did not have it in hand when you attacked.
You are correct. My bad.
Again, you guys can use this, but at some point you have to know your characters and do the things before. Your character is supposed to have that sword in hand when he is fighting.
No, you're right. Understood.
For the two remaining sleepers, Valixis and Trey, let me get perception checks from you.
We're still asleep after he got stabbed?
100%, you did not get stabbed. Rennick got stabbed.
Well, yeah, but wouldn't he have screamed?
He screamed already. It's not your turn yet to wake up. Giving you an extra chance now because something else is happening.
Nice.
All four of you, I need strength saving throws as the ice that you are bedded down on starts to kind of round out above your legs and start to pull you into the ice. Alexis, you are prone on the ground as the ice is pulling you down into the earth, but you are awake. What would you like to do?
Are her hands stuck underneath the ground as well?
For what it is worth, you are being pulled into the earth, but you are restrained. That is the actual condition you are suffering from. What are you trying to do?
I was going to probably use shoot. I was either going to use a firebolt to either hit the ice and melt it so I can get out, or to attack with it.
Well, pick one and tell me what you want to do.
I'm attacking.
With a firebolt?
No, make it a fireball. Make it a fireball.
I believe you have access to the fireball. You can drop that where you would like to, underneath your characters, and then spells. Oh, I have to give you permission. Bam. Now you should see where Fireball allows you to drag it out. Same way it's a counter. Just grab it by the name Fireball and place it where you would like to place it.
Wait, is that? That's not how big it's supposed to be, is it?
That looks correct. 20 square feet. Radius, rather. 20 feet. Is that where you wanted to place it? Basically, I feel like you actually have it placed outside of the hut right there.
I do. I was trying to place it like, hold on. I'm
Like
sorry.
right at the door?
Yeah, it's like right outside the door is where I was putting it at. Is that really how big a fire? Oh God!
Did you want to make sure to hit yourself, Brennick and Shinbao?
I don't want to hit any of us.
And bam, just like that, it does not. Roll your fireball. Brennick, with a little bit of jealousy, you are going to watch as this massive explosion just outside of the hut is going to explode. And you're going to watch as the fire just kind of moves to the side of your face and off to the side. Jimbao, the exact same thing. Valixis, not so surprised as the fire doesn't come close to you, but it burns the person who is right next to you. And let's see. The guy who's already mortally wounded is definitely dead.
Yeah, I wish I could shape mine like that.
And I don't think you can actually see this guy, but he is inside the fireball as well. So I think that's everybody. 7. We'll go Druid, then the Scouts, then the Warriors. So full. I think that 3rd Scout will pass, and 1 Warrior. Yeah, that looks right. Yep. All right, the one who passed of the warriors is right below Velixis. What is it? He needs a 12 to live, so he'll be mortally wounded. I don't think any of the other warriors can live. The druid will fall, the spellcaster will fall. All of the ice that is currently holding the two of you down on the ground will dissipate. And then, what is it? The third scout is the westernmost scout. So that scout will be mortally wounded. What can the other one survive? 24, 27. So I need all 8s for them to have a hit point left. So each of the other scouts will fall. So as Velixis wakes up from this horrendous dream, popping off an explosion just outside of the actual hut, sculpting the fire around all of you, Brennick, you're going to watch as the person who is holding their spear into your shoulder is going to immolate and fall as ash. The other people who are outside of the tent will go through the same thing as they just burn up. One archer is within view and very clearly nearly burnt to death. And there will be more screams that you all don't even recognize. And it's going to go to Velixis. You still have opportunity to now move. Technically, I think you did that while you were prone, so half your movement to stand up. But would you like to move?
She's just basically making sure she pulls herself the rest of the way out of the snow so she can get her footing.
Gotcha. So just standing, it will go to Trey. What would Trey like to do?
Trey wakes up, and I imagine like the makeshift igloo we in is just kind of gone now at this point.
For what it's worth, old school fireball would have definitely destroyed the igloo. An evocation wizard molding the fire around it, I don't think there's any reason to say that the igloo is actually destroyed here.
Heard. I'm gonna walk on over here and just be pissed off and take a swing at that guy.
Go for it. Solid strike. If you do not have the damage set to roll automatically, please roll the damage as soon as possible.
Heard. Do you do non-lethal damage?
Anytime you are doing melee attacks, you can certainly do non-lethal damage when you go to kill them.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and do non-lethal damage. I don't know what's going on, but someone woke us the fuck up, and let's find out. So non-lethal.
That will knock him unconscious.
Um, then I'm going to go ahead and use the rest of my movement to go stand in front of the doorway to make sure no one else is. Actually, I'll take one more step outside of the doorway to get a full view.
As you step outside, there are going to be 2 arrows shot at you. I believe one should hit with a 20, the other should miss with a 14.
Correct.
And it will be for 7 piercing damage.
All right. I will go ahead and end my turn.
Oh, no, that's my bad. That was already at the end of your turn. It is gonna go to Brennick here. I think we're gonna have that person running away anyways. See which direction they run. They're going for the other side of the hut. So, Brennick, as you are waking up, there is a unconscious. Well, no, you're not actually waking up here. You probably see the signs of that person running away from Trey as they kind of drop 2 more arrows into your hut. The person unconscious next to you, but otherwise the threat seems to have been abated. What is Brennick thinking?
Yeah, so Brannock's gonna scramble to his feet, kind of wincing a little bit at the blade that hit his shoulder, but then suddenly realizing it's not as bad as he thought. He's gonna, but he's kind of pissed at being kind of woken up at Spirit Point. He's gonna try and charge out. After standing up, obviously, and then if he can still see the one to his north,
100%.
then he's just going to launch a firebolt at the fleeing scout.
Burn them. Yep. Decimated.
Nice.
And then he's going to be turning back, towards the others, looking towards any left, any more.
Yeah, as you kind of spin around, you see the sign of the person who was kind of scouting around the south side from the southeast, and you see that corpse there, also burnt up. But effectively, at this point, you all have 8 charred and burnt corpses inside of your camp.
Are we out of initiative now?
Effectively, you are indeed.
I'm gonna go back into the igloo, tie the guy up, take off his, weapons and stuff, and then say I'm gonna do a perimeter check and walk around to see if I can find tracks and where they came from.
Roll a perception check.
For tracks, would it be survival or would it be perception? I'm just curious for myself. It's the same modifier either way.
At this point, you are trying to see them. I am looking for a perception. When you go to track them, that's where it'll be survival.
Okay, thank you.
Looking around, you're going to spot signs that this group kind of congregated to the northeast of your camp. You saw that archer run off towards the northeast. You have a pretty solid understanding that perhaps they were coming from the northeast.
Okay, walk back to the camp. And say we should probably clean up these bodies. I can probably make us another makeshift igloo, but I say we go ahead and try and see if we can. Brannick, I know you can do some weird mind stuff. I don't know if you can go in there and see where they came from, how they found us, and who they are.
I should be able to do that. It might work better if one of you wants to try and question him while I'm doing so. Asking him questions might bring his thoughts to the surface, make it more difficult for him to avoid my delving.
It's really just the first time that you ever ask that you have that first surface thought before he knows. Regardless of whether he fails the check or succeeds it, he knows when you do the second level of it.
How does detect thoughts work if the person's knocked out?
Oh, I imagine he'd have to be conscious. I don't know if that actually says that, but I imagine it would. I mean, I don't think I imagine unconscious people. I don't know. Do they have thoughts like for purposes of the spell?
I would say more than likely you're going to get dreams. Whether that is actually what you want to get out of a creature, it's probably not as useful.
Honestly,
Yeah,
honestly, I was about to say something similar. I feel like that would be akin to them basically unconscious, basically still being asleep, I guess, and dreaming, just I guess a bit in a different form since they were technically knocked out.
I was gonna roll a d2 to figure out what gender he was dreaming about.
Um,
Brennick might dive into a thought that Brennick doesn't want to experience. And hell,
um,
you might dive into a thought that you want to experience with him.
and now that the immediate threat seems to be gone, Brannick is going to sort of while Trey is kind of like doing this perimeter check and tying up the one unconscious guy. Brannick's going to check a body or two, kind of trying to see if he can see anything that might suggest if these barbarians belong to a particular tribe. Like, are they wearing any particular kind of like jewelry or animal items or stuff like that. I mean, doesn't really know what he's looking for, but that's kind of what his search is focused on.
Let me get a perception from you. I think you're gonna have enough from the two who were able to jump out of the way of most of the explosion. Um, Signs that this is Tiger Tribe. Perhaps this was a hunting party who was returning. Perhaps this was a hunting party who was simply out hunting. Another part of the tribe. Hard for you to tell, but you can see signs that it was more Tiger Tribe.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Brannick will share that with the others. Yeah, I mean, imagine at any one time they're not all congregated probably in their in one camp. So
Uh, well, I think if we're going to question him, I think one of the things we need to ask is, a lot of tribes, gangs, social units. They all have their own reach. You know, how far is the reach of the Tiger Tribe? Because if they're coming at us for revenge, how many more are going to be coming after us?
you said their tracks were seen to be coming from the northeast, Trey?
Yeah.
That suggests perhaps they haven't been by the main camp recently enough to know what went down there. Perhaps we just simply had the bad luck to have them stumble upon us. But we can certainly ask them.
Sounds good. By the way, are you hurt? You need any healing?
Roll an intelligence, Brennick. I don't think Brannick looks hurt enough to really show any signs.
Yeah, no, he looks okay.
Gotcha. Word.
I think the spear wound looked worse going in than it actually felt.
Yeah. All of you have those 10 temporary hit points, so the first strikes are rarely going to do anything that even resembles any damage to you. Legitimately, Brannick only took 5 hit points, and that's not even a fraction. Even as the person with the least amount of hit points in the party, it's a tiny fraction of his hit points.
Gotcha. Well, I'll go ahead and stand up our friend who's probably mortally wounded, and I'll go ahead and pump 5 points of healing hands or lay hands into them just to try and help wake him up. But I'll do it as like a good old backhand.
I'm going to say no. You can backhand him, or you can do healing hands.
Okay,
You're not going to heal him with the backhand.
Okay.
Do you want to backhand him?
No, I'll go ahead and healing hands him.
Good, because I would have killed him.
Okay.
So you can heal them. They will come back to a dazed consciousness as you pump the healing into them, and pretty quickly recognize the situation has turned other.
All right. Why did you come and wake us up?
And Brannick is going to go ahead and cast Detect Thoughts at this time again on the survivor.
I don't think you're going to get any different thoughts than the response that he is going to respond to Trey in "You're on the lands of the Tiger Tribe."
I'm going to go ahead and pull up, the tiger pelt and be like, "You mean this tiger?"
Just going to get silence in return. Going deeper, Brennick?
Yeah, and it kind of as he tries to delve deeper, he's going to ask, like, and how far does your tribe's reach extend?
As you ask the question, he's just going to look to you, and silently, you're just going to basically feel this sensation of animosity and a thought of the entire North. This is all their land.
And are there more hunting parties nearby?
I think you can try it each time you delve deeper. Try to save against it, right? Or wait, I think you can do the intelligence check once he fails it.
Yeah, so it says it can use an action on its turn. So basically, yeah, I would think like essentially every question, to make an intelligence check contested by my intelligence check, and the spell ends if it succeeds.
Gotcha. So yeah, I need an intelligence from you here. Close. So it will kill the spell at that point. I think you would still pick up the answer though. I guess that is on its turn that it can contest it.
Yeah, I don't think it's like it.
Roll a dexterity for me. I feel like he was probably above you, but there's no way to really know. What was your last question?
Are there any
Are
other?
there more?
Yeah,
Uh,
like nearby. I think I asked. Yeah.
I think you'll get more of kind of an absurd thought where you have this initial sensation that he's kind of on to what this ability that you're kind of like delving into his head is doing. And he's just going to think of hundreds. And it's probably going to be pretty clear to you that there's probably not hundreds of hunting parties out here. And that's when you're going to feel the sensation kind of cut off.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So Brannick will kind of grimace as he realizes that his spell's been broken, and kind of just like snort in annoyance at the um at kind of that last thought that he picked up that was kind of clearly intentionally trying to deceive him. And he'll kind of look to the others and kind of give a small shake of his head again to kind of indicate that he's lost the whatever connection he had, but relay what little he was able to learn um, in those brief kind of few seconds. But if you ask me, if we let him go, he's likely to just go back after us later. I say we slit his throat and be done with him. After we're done questioning him, of course.
For R.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have something to say? For Arl?
Well, it seems your oral was not so much with Bjornhild, so I doubt beseeching her is going to save you. But Brennick will kind of look to the others to see if they have questions of their own.
You can certainly punch him, Jinbao. That is not going to kill him. I believe he is currently at 5 hit points, so that will drop him down to 2. Still mortally wounded, but appears to take the hit without any problem.
Yeah, that was an accident.
Jinbao, how do you accidentally punch someone? Just kidding. I know you were saying that out of character. But does anyone else have any questions?
Looks like we got a new part-time job as Tiger Clan killers.
I have one. Willis just kind of like scratches their head. Who fell asleep?
I think perhaps that Druid did something to, or that spellcaster did something to lull me into allowing them to take me unawares. And Brennick is clearly just trying to cover his ass here. He's being deceptive.
Are they clearly able to tell that you're just spinning a weave?
I'll leave that up to them. I mean,
well, if you want it to potentially be successful, roll a deception.
Yeah, I'll try. Yeah.
So, I mean, passive insight wise, none of you are going to pick up on that. No, I am wrong. You all have Brennan or Johan had the highest, but Jinbao and Trey, yeah, and Felixus, yeah, you all have absurd stats in this campaign. All of you passive insights are able to pick up on that being a lie.
Brandon, if you're getting tired, wake one of us up so we can just take over the watch early. None of us are going to judge you for getting tired. We're in a blizzard.
You know what? This is the second time this has happened to us. And I know exactly how I'm going to fix it next time. I know exactly how I'm going to fix it.
I certainly didn't feel tired, but Felixus managed to clean things up, so no harm, no foul.
Yeah, good fucking job, Felixus. That was fucking amazing. How like you got everyone but us.
Yes, I do wish I knew how to shape my own flames that way, but it's well done.
Yeah, I wish you knew how to do it that way too, just Brannick.
You know what? Lucky for y'all, and Brannick, that did happen because I did not intentionally morph that around y'all. So luckily I did because I did not do it intentionally. It was a panic.
Trey's going to just go ahead and look at the member of the Tiger Tribe and say, "Do you have any last words? Do you have any prayers you'd like to say?"
It's going to slowly start inhaling snot.
I'm going to go ahead and just snap snack.
Roll a dexterity check. You gotta beat I think a 15, otherwise he's about to spit in your face. Last will and testament. A loogie to your face. Should have killed him a while ago.
Respect. And just go ahead and finish it.
As he dies, his body is going to instantly turn to ice and freeze in place.
What the fuck?
I'm guessing it's probably a religious thing and their belief with oral. So I'm going to go ahead and do y'all want to go ahead and try and find a new place to set up camp, or y'all want to try and finish out here?
I'm not sleeping among dead ashes and a frozen body. We're finding somewhere else to sleep.
Can we make out what time it is? What's the weather like?
So I think this would have occurred on Brannick's first hour of watch, right? So
Yeah. Same idea though. Without keen mind, nobody has clocks, so there's no way to always know. Effectively, you all kind of like stepping out a little bit further into the actual night. It's still kind of heavy winds. Looking about for the sliver of the moon that you kind of hope to see for a sign of where it is. You're not going to be able to spot the moon in this weather conditions. At this point, you all don't necessarily have any solid clue about what time you're at.
Oh, we might as well try to rest then.
Continue to rest here, or do you all want to move?
I'm just worried that fireball, as useful as it was, might have, if there are any others about, might have uh, attracted their attention. Perhaps we try and travel for an hour or so, try to get a little distance.
Agreed.
Another thought is we could follow. I mean, they don't have any of their equipment on them. They came from the northeast. We're already kind of heading in that direction. We can try and trace back down to where their camp is and scout it
What
out.
do you mean equipment?
Like, I mean, you said it was just them and everything's burnt up, but like,
The cold weather gear that you all wear is all you need to survive in this place. None of you are going to die just walking around in cold weather gear. That is enough to live.
okay, all right. Well, then I guess just let's go walk for an hour and set up a new camp.
No, but we should definitely follow their tracks back. We were heading that way anyways.
Does that sound like the plan? Go for their tracks?
Sure. Yeah, Brannick's okay with that.
Velixis?
She wants to finish getting some sleep because abrupt waking up in the middle of the night with only an hour's sleep, I don't think I'm going to be ready to, or have the energy or mindset to try and fight anyone else if we should have to. Like I said earlier, that fireball was an accident. I just panicked.
Okay, well, how about we just travel about 30 minutes, try and find another place, and we cover our tracks as we walk behind us, and we make sure we camouflage ourselves better when we set up camp now.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, well, let's get going.
So, are you trying to track them for a half hour, or you're just going north for a half hour?
No, we're just going north for a half hour.
Roll a survival check, please. This one will be at disadvantage.
I like how Johan's token's still with us. No.
Johan dead.
There's a nice little memorial.
We carry him with us in our hearts. Him and his sewn back on head.
I mean, I know I would like to have my head put back on if I got decapitated and buried.
Alrighty, so you all can find another spot that feels sufficiently far away to set up camp. Do you have thoughts of a grandiose camp this time? Do you want to try to create something, or are you just going to try to shelter in place?
I guess shelter in place is the easiest since our cold weather gear will keep us alive.
Yeah, maybe try and kind of like burrow in, use the snow as insulation kind of thing.
But let's kind of dig like a little hole that she can basically lay in with just her make it with her arms free and her head sticking out still. Just barely, well, her eyes showing, not her head sticking out, just her eyes showing so she can pretty much look and see.
And is Brannick going to take the first watch, or are you going to hand over the watch to somebody else?
I think I'll let someone else take the first watch this time.
What is the watch order?
I'll take the first.
Angus.
I'll take third.
And I will take up the last watch.
So I think Jim Bao said first. Let me get some perceptions from you, please. Jim Bao, while you are on watch, there is going to be a point where you are going to hear the sounding of a horn, kind of get startled into recognition, and kind of like start to look around. and you will see there is a figure standing about 20 feet away from you, probably about 4.5 feet tall. Seem to be flanked on each side by more figures about the same height. What is Jinbao thinking?
Jimbo, I was thinking of waking the rest of the camp up.
But are you waking us up, or are you just thinking about it?
No, I'm definitely waking the camp up.
What is it now, Mom?
Well, we have yet to meet a friendly party in this area, so looks like trouble.
As you go to move to kind of grab everyone's attention, you're just going to hear a shout from through the wind that says, "Halt! Your friends are not needed for this."
From this distance, I guess I'm yelling. What do you want? What are your intentions?
Our intentions need not be any more nefarious than your reaction. What are you doing in these lands?
We are seeking answers.
If you don't know the question, answers are easy.
To whom am I speaking?
Is that the question that you're seeking? That's one of the easiest of questions. What are you seeking?
We are seeking the Duragar, I believe.
There's no Durgar in these parts.
We came across some in East Haven.
You're going to see as the figures kind of start to walk towards you. And as they get closer, these are three heavily armored dwarves who are all carrying pretty large battle hammers about the size of themselves. And the one who's closest is going to kind of step towards you and, "You've seen Durgar in East Haven."
We have.
Well, then I'll answer your first question. Iron Fist. And he's going to reach out his hand to shake your hand.
Well met. My name is Jinbao.
When you shake his hand, it doesn't move at all. Probably a pretty good guess to assume that he has an actual iron hand.
I see you come by that name naturally.
It's a little more unnatural than not. How many Durgar did you come across? And are you sure that you killed Durgar?
Well, my companion Brannick has had more dealings with them than I, but I have no reason to not believe his statement that they were Duragar.
just going to hear the other people muttering behind him as they say in Dwarvish, "We should speak to this Brannick." And the one who's been speaking to you in common will kind of stop and, "Wake up, your Brannick. We would have words with him."
I'll respond in Dwarvish just to let him know that I understand. Agreed.
They'll reply to you like the two in the back will reply, "Well met," in common.
So little head nod, and then I'll turn to wake up Brannick and the rest of the group.
"Your other friends are still not needed. We'll have the words with Brannick."
As you wish. Wakey, wakey, Brannick.
Yeah, so as Jinbao goes to wake up Brannick, you'll see, like, instinctively Brannick is like swatting away a non-existent spear point at his throat, and then he'll kind of like come to kind of after a moment or two and looking around and seeing more armed figures, like not again. But then seeing Jinbao doesn't look too worried, he'll kind of like get himself up and what's going on, Jinbao?
They have some questions about the Durgar in East Haven.
As you kind of come to, they're going to pretty much say that same thing where they're going to kind of point to Jin Bao and said, "Your friend here has told us that you've had dealings with the Durgar. You've seen them above the surface. You know that they're not dwarves, and you know that they're Durgar."
They certainly seem to be. A couple of us have run into them on more than one occasion.
More than one? What other information do you have for us, Brunnick?
There's I believe it's some sort of old fortress up near. Me, the player, is blanking. I think it was like east of Kirkonig.
Yeah, so like the first response is going to be them saying like kind of like one or the other of these three dwarves. You're going to hear two of them say almost at the same time, "Care," and each of them says the other, "Dinaval" or "Koenig." But after you kind of respond that it's north of Care Koenig, they're going to kind of like take a few moments speaking in Dwarvish. So all three of you would pretty much or all of you would understand at this point, of the awakened five, that they're basically having a conversation that comes to the conclusion that there's no fortress above Caer Koenig. There's certainly not any like old fortress. You, the player, might have. You guys never got close enough to inspect it, but that was a new creation, and it'll kind of pique their interest. You'll pick up something along those lines that if the Durgar are here, perhaps it's something newly constructed. Um, let's see. They'll pull out a map and kind of ask you if if you have any idea where it is in relation to basically Kelvin's Cairn and Caer Koenig. And I think for the sake of things, like if you're forward with the answer, that's all I'm really looking for. I think we kind of determined that it was vaguely up in that area just based on your travel time, but it was never like explicitly marked out for you.
Yeah, I think Brannick would, to the best of his recollection, would point out the actual. He doesn't see any reason to lie about the location or yeah, deceptive. So he would kind of try and point out accurately. Um, and kind of like as he's doing this, he would be a friend here, Trey, pointing to one of the two sleeping, like he'd be, I'm sure he'd be interested in meeting you. I believe he's had some dealings with dwarves in the past. Maybe also be able to answer some questions you have.
You'll hear one of the dwarves in the back kind of just like pushing up behind the one who's been speaking directly to you all and just kind of mutter, this time in common, if we're going to meet them all, we're never going to make it back tonight. If you must wake up your friend, we should wake them up over some ale. But wake your friends at this time. We will join you for the night. And you'll see as one of the dwarves kind of like basically like throws back his cloak, and instead of actually carrying like a backpack, has essentially like a dwarf-sized keg like attached to his back.
Brannick will nod, and as he's going to wake up Trey and then Felixis, like, if you don't mind my asking, where are you headed back to?
We've been heading back from the mines to go visit our families back in the valley.
Felix kind of comes to, and she's rubbing her eyes. I swear, if there's someone else in here with weapons pointed at us, I'm not curving another fireball. It'll just hit everyone.
By Moradin's beard, what's going on?
Wake up, time to drink.
Oh, okay. Wait, how do we get booze?
You woke us up for booze?
Much nicer than spear points, I'm sure you'll agree.
I don't know about that. At this point, I prefer the spear points and sleep.
One of these dwarves is going to like reach over to Velixis and say, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Trey. Your friends have been telling us that you have friends in the smithing business."
That's me over here, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And Moradin's blessing upon you. It's my honor to finally meet some of the other stout folk here up in the north. I come from the south, and I hear you got ale.
They indeed have a cask of ale basically already flowing.
All right. Well, it's time we showed some hospitality. I'm going to start, building. It's rather than just having a basic shelter. I'm going to start fortifying something a little nicer. If we're going to.
I'll break out the cook's utensils and start frying up some victuals.
I'll pass on the L. As Felissa fully wakes up, stands up, and stretches. I'm good. I try to avoid drinking.
Well, I've no such compunction. Brannick will take an ale when it's offered, and
I feel like one of the dwarves is going to respond to Velixis. Why do you keep speaking in your magical language? What does avoid drinking mean? Are you casting a spell on us?
Hold on one second.
Assuming he's busy, regardless, they're going to kind of like do one of those solid, like hard hits on the back of Velixis to just say, I'm just fucking with you, little one.
Okay. I'm sorry. Kind of groggy. Last time we got woke up about an hour ago. We had spears pointing at us, thanks to our also other generous guard, who decided to fall asleep.
Yes, we've had a bit of trouble with the Tiger Tribe recently.
You're in the middle of dangerous lands. There's little protection for any who would rest in the tundra.
Yeah, sadly, we lost one of our own about a day or so ago, and we're sadly well versed in the dangers of this land, as I'm sure you and yours are. Tell me, these mines you work, are they to the north? We're going to be headed that way and looking for something. Don't know if you've any familiarity with the area.
Oh, we don't pass towards the glacier too much. We mine the different parts of the spine of the world.
I see. I see. You noticed much more trouble with kobolds recently? We've run into a few of those as well, telling us they've been coming from that same area.
That they lost their dragon or something like that, I think.
There's perhaps more danger in the spine these ages than in days past. It's hard to tell what a kobold. It's hard to tell what the folk of this world make their decisions for. And they'll kind of like look to Velixis as they pause and return like away from this idea of saying it's only kobolds. Making it kind of obvious. They're trying to be a little bit kinder than perhaps they normally would be.
By the way, we just 2 days back we ran into some Durgar and cleared them off of the ship out in East Haven that they were occupying, and one escaped, was a caster of some kind. But here's the odd thing. I've come across a few in my time, fought just fine, but these ones could grow 4 times their size. Um, and I ain't ever seen anything like that. Is that common up here?
He's going to look at you a little bit perplexed. You say you've seen Durgar before and you've not seen this trait.
Hey, we hit them faster back then before they ever got anything off on us. So yeah.
Then consider yourself lucky.
Well, then lucky I am. And finish up, securing the camp a little more, and sit down beside them and wait for Jimbao to finish the fiddlings.
So let's take a break here. If you all think of anything else that you would like to ask these dwarves while they are with you, you most certainly can. Otherwise, we'll kind of progress forward here and figure out where you are going to next and how the rest of this night is going to progress forward.
Copy that. See y'all in what, 15 minutes?
Yeah, we'll do like 6:15.
So
15.
Okay. I didn't roll the 1d6 for my health when I leveled up. So I'll go ahead and do that right now then real quick.
Did you decide to stay with Wizard?
Yeah, I couldn't really figure out if I want the morph or anything, so I figured I'd just go ahead and stay with Wizard rather than try to think only for weeks on it.
Gotcha. Yep. Roll a d6. So you should have 25 rolled hit points now.
I'm back.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm here too.
Excellent.
So, just out of curiosity, if I'm attacking with my longsword, what's the difference if I attack with one-handed or two-handed, as far as other than obviously the damage aspect?
I think the biggest thing that probably goes into play there is that there is an item interaction. I feel like it's as simple as dropping kind of thing, so I don't think it actually takes action economy. It's more towards somebody who would carry a shield cannot simply switch between one and two-handed. But as far as a monk goes, I don't think there's any reason for you to ever attack one-handed.
So, when I'm attacking with my longsword, I'm basically going to be rolling the 1d10.
That sounds right.
Okay.
I feel like it might roll them both anyway when you roll the attack with the longsword.
If it's set up correctly, like how I prefer attacks to be set up, it should roll both, yeah. But my point being, it's like a fighter really needs to decide because they can carry a shield and often will. So a fighter needs to decide what their actual armament is, and it's like an action to don or doff the shield. So you can't just do it. Whereas the monk is basically attacking two-handed, and then you drop the sword with your offhand to throw Fury of Blows, or to simply just attack with your unarmed strike. But that's like the big difference is a monk doesn't really need action economy to switch between two-handed and attacking with their offhand. I think probably the like vague area where it gets a little bit more gray is I feel like every single turn that you want to kind of grasp it again is kind of item interaction. But that's one of those things where I'm not sure how much I care about that versus I feel like it should matter more than I'm necessarily going to make it matter. But it is one of those gray areas where sometimes I will tell people they've used up their action economy based on what you're trying to do. So it is a little kind of gray if taking your offhand and applying it to your sword takes that free item interaction. But it's the same kind of thing as like technically saying words, like using seconds of talk, is that free item interaction as well. It's a very vague line of we need to just decide what you're able to do, and sometimes it's purely made on the fly.
Yeah, because I spent a lot of time reading up on the agile parry thing, trying to figure out exactly how it works and try to use it correctly. But it just seems like I'd rarely use it unless I was going total defense.
Wait, the agile parry like always applies. You pretty much just need to hit somebody. It's effectively passive. Do you mean like the um damn, the one that you actually like take the dodge action with a bonus action?
No, because and this is what I was talking about that first week, where agile parry technically is if you make an unarmed strike as part of the attack action on your turn, and are holding a Kensei weapon, you gain +2 bonus to AC. But if I attack with this,
Okay. So what
I-
that is you're supposed to be holding it but not attacking with it.
right, exactly.
Which on some level is basically assuming, because technically your normal attack action is with your main hand. I feel like that is basically saying, I fucking hate monks. It's a very gray line because usually your offhanded attack is your bonus action, which would be what you turn into Flurry of Blows. So that idea of taking a bonus action to attack with your unarmed hand is what would kind of give it to you. You can only do that offhanded attack when you take the attack action first. Like you can't just bonus action make an unarmed strike. You have to take the attack action, and then you can take the bonus action to unarmed strike. That sounds a little bit more what it's looking for.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I interpret it as I have to make the unarmed strike as part of the attack action.
Well, no, but it's specifically with your offhand, because otherwise you have to be holding a weapon, and that's with your main hand.
Right. Or my foot or whatever. Unless we're or just punchy punch.
I'm back.
Welcome back. I think we're just waiting on Velixis now. Rashad.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm here. I thought I said I was there already. My bad.
Oh, I might have just missed it. That could be me. That could be on me.
I didn't catch it either. Yeah, again, like reading it over with that in mind, I feel like Agile Parry is looking to see if you get a hit with your bonus action, unarmed striking, you can basically get that +2 AC. But it is explicitly not your main hand, because your main hand is attacking with the Kensei weapon.
I don't know, because on my sheet it says you have to the criteria starts with if you make an unarmed strike as part of the attack action, not bonus action.
But when you take the attack action, it gives you an extra attack. Like at level 5, you get an extra attack, but that's still with your main hand, and that's the one that is supposed to be holding your weapon.
Right, but I also have to me it seems like they're giving you either a defensive bonus and you're yielding a damage amount by using your unarmed strike instead of the melee weapon. You can either get the damage bonus or you can get the AC bonus depending on which strike you want to use.
Yeah, I mean, monks get a damage bonus from level 1 through 20. It always gets better. They have the best unarmed strikes. But my point is because it says that you have to be holding your Kensei weapon and that it is making a unarmed strike, that tells me it is with your offhand, which is the bonus action attack.
Gotcha.
It almost sounds to me like the idea is that you're holding the sword as like a parrying sword only. Like you're foregoing any offensive capability with it, but you've got it for parrying purposes.
Yeah, that's the way I took it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that that's what it sounds like, but the way it's described there, every single attack happens from your main hand. And this thing basically says if you make an unarmed strike while holding a Kensi weapon, if you're holding it with your main hand. It's just very obscure. I don't think that is well worded, and that is classic Blizzard. I think the problem is it is basically saying you need to decide if you need that AC, you probably also need the flurry of blows, and one of those has to hit, and you get it.
Maybe they think there's a difference between holding versus wielding. I know usually they use wielding, right, as in terms of like essentially holding a weapon to
And
attack.
that's where the action economy comes into it. If you're holding it, you took the time to basically don it, and that's that free item interaction. If you were like grabbing your sword and sheathing it every single turn, that's classic Blizzard absurdity of they create loopholes.
Yeah, but I mean, as a monk, it's not like I'm only punching with my right hand. If I'm, you know what I mean? Like, if I have the ability to make an unarmed strike during my,
But my point is like your other ability, like Deft Strike, is specifically with the Kensi weapon. You are meant to be doing shit with your Kensi weapon. It is your subclass. And the parry comes in when you connect with an unarmed strike. That is my point, is that this class is meant to do shit with their weapons. And that ability kicks in when your unarmed strikes are successful. And I think that's the big takeaway. Because the fact that the where was it, Deft Strike even says it how it is when you hit a target with a Kensi weapon, that even further proves my point, or my interpretation of it, that your main attack action is with your Kensi weapon, and your bonus action, whether it is a flurry of blows or just an unarmed strike, that is what activates your parry. Yeah, and now your attack with your Kensi weapons is magical. 100%, you're supposed to be attacking with your Kensi weapons with this class. But like Stunning Strike says, when you hit with a melee weapon attack, it doesn't care. It just wants you to hit with a melee attack. So that's kind of like all four different ways of wording something. So did anybody come up with any other thoughts about what you would like to ask these dwarves?
Yeah, I'd probably ask them. Since Trey's still needs to go over to the Dwarven Valley and learn more about smithing and stuff. Anyone that they would recommend specifically?
They give you a name.
Cool.
If you intend to become a smith and go to the Dwarven Valley to learn smithing, that character is going to become an NPC. It's beyond the scope of my campaigns. I play war games.
Copy that. All right. I'll think on that.
It's the same thing as like with shopping excursions. Like if you all want to shop, just let me know what you're looking for. We're not going to go like off on the long session of just shopping.
I guess Brennick would ask, he would say like we've had some dealings with Runa, I think it was Runa Battlehammer and Brinchander. Just ask if they're familiar with them. I don't know. Do we know anything about the Battlehammer clan? Like how well how big they are, or how kind of.
The dwarves of the valley are the Battlehammer Clan. But they recognize
Okay.
the name of Runa. They're familiar with those dwarves. So those three names definitely connect at least a little bit of dots. Perhaps not with all three of them, perhaps with all three of them, but they recognize enough about it.
Okay, yeah. I think I was thinking Iron Fist was like the clan name, but that's his dwarf's actual his like name.
Yeah. Effectively, that was him introducing himself as Iron Fist.
I guess could also ask them like if they've heard any rumors of this supposed lost spire up north near the glacier. No, they said they don't go that way very often, but
Many dwarves have gone missing in different times that we have come back from the spine of the world. It's hard to say why one or the other might have this occur, but it seems more often than not that when we are traveling to the north of Lake Dinashar, more of our folk go missing than not. If that is the direction of this spire where you are heading, perhaps that solves part of our mystery. But other than that, no, I do not know of any such thing.
to Brannicle, thank him for the information. I think that's all Brannick's got.
That was the big one I was trying to leave you all space to ask, is to actually see if anybody was going to bring up the Spire.
I think the only other thing Trey would probably ask is, being so far away, what are y'all? I know y'all said you're visiting family in the mountains, but is there any work up in this direction or anything that y'all are looking to get taken care of, um, for the dwarven clans or for the entire region itself?
I don't think they're going to have any response to that beyond that they're just traveling here. Um, no, there's not, like, they don't have a fetch quest or anything for you.
Gotcha.
Oh, maybe we could ask if they. I know we had heard rumors about that comet down south. Maybe see if they had heard anything about that, or
There's been some in the mines who said that they had seen something many a weeks past, but there's little that we've seen or any signs of such things. And they'll effectively point, like, their most recent mining expedition was effectively to this kind of mountain range that is almost immediately east of kind of where you all experience the kobolds.
okay, so fair ways away from where we. Gotcha.
Yeah. I think this lowest mark that you all have visible on this map, I think this lowest mark that is visible on this map, I think that one was marked off to be the vague area that they had said with the comment. I think. I don't know for sure, but vaguely.
Yeah, it was either that or where the knolls had been spotted. But I feel like the knolls were more due eastish of East Haven. The ones I killed that I think we heard rumors out Noel's killing a farmer or hunter or something. Yeah, my understanding is that southernmost point is the Comet one.
No, I would actually think that might be wrong. Yep, there's the other point. That probably is the Knolls that is kind of like southeast of East Haven. In specific, part of the actual note about the comet is that it fell south of the Redwaters, and that's this one that's actually near the trees there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I didn't see that one. It kind of blended in with the tree for me. Now I see it though. Yeah.
But those are kind of like some of the points you all have, like in Spine of the World here, and effectively these dwarves. I mean, it might even make more sense to say that they were mining a little bit more like inside of the circle there, but for what it's worth, they've basically come more east. Yeah, I think it would be better if I said that they were kind of coming from that direction. It would make the line fit a little bit better. And kind of falls in with their paranoia to go north around Lake Dinishire, is part of why they might be crossing your path right now, is that they are effectively trying to drop south from a more northern mining point.
I guess one last.
Go ahead.
Maybe I don't know. One last thing Brannick might ask is, given that it's easy to kind of have, you know, unfortunate encounters out here. Like, is there a watchword or like a something we can, if we run into other, dwarves, that we can kind of say is to indicate like non-hostility or something? Like, do they might not, but like if they have like, I don't know, sentry or not sentry words, but like, I don't know. Do you kind of understand what I'm trying to get at? I'm not phrasing it real well, but
If you've met Runa of the Battlehammers, and you've now met Iron Fist of the Battlehammers, you should be able to perhaps call yourselves out as friends of either of us.
excellent. Thank you.
You're the first people who's shown us any genuine hospitality on this land. It was fortuitous meeting.
We were close enough to smashing your skull open if you were to wake your friends with a little bit too much haste. So, don't be too judgmental. It's a dangerous land to be traveling for everyone. Making the right choices is often a great way to not stain the snow red. That's my way of the DM saying, like, that fight could have gone bad as well. Everything that you guys do can go good or bad.
Well, I, for one, am glad that Jin Bao kept his head.
Yeah, you got the spirit, I got the ale. There's a lesson to be learned in there somewhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, Brannick's mistake was trying to, he thinks he can reason with everybody when he should have just seen that spirit stroke, just kind of done what Felixus did and just lit everything up right from the get-go.
And that's a good lesson to learn. You saw the different effect of it. You could have burnt your friends and yourself for a little bit, but you would have pretty much killed everybody. And you kind of like learned that lesson, and that's how you learn.
Yeah, I got no more questions. I can't think of anything else.
So, as you all kind of enjoy the last of your ales and kind of prepare to put in for the night, they're going to warn you at some point during some of the more mundane conversation that there is a herd of elk that they passed some time ago, and that there is a certain danger left to this evening still. On some level, if the conversation comes up that your most recent guests were part of the Tiger Tribe, they might bring up that the Tiger Tribe could have been hunting those elk. But in the long run, they're basically going to keep a little bit of attention on the watch with you all. And whoever they are basically watching with will kind of like keep an extra eye out. So hopefully this like herd of elk passes by rather unattentively here. And I think with how things are going to play out, we will start that next morning and kind of just progress forward with you all investigating for the rest of the day. So let me get one more survival from Trey as you all set out for the next day's exploration and try to find your way towards the spire. Yeah, so we'll have it be pretty short in the day, probably about 3 or 4 hours of traveling underneath the shimmer of the aurora, where you all eventually start to see, just like at first, it's kind of like a black dot. Actually, I should roll for a blizzard, of course. So you all get kind of up in the general area where you are expecting to be after a few hours. And moving forward, you have a certain understanding that you're nearing this place where you're searching for it. Kind of taking some time to be a little bit closer. There's going to be kind of a few moments where you all kind of like separate off and kind of search like in almost like rope grids where you're kind of tying yourselves off to kind of give yourself an ability to separate in this blizzard and also still kind of explore things. Eventually coming to, and let me get everybody to roll a d20, please.
You cut off to where we eventually come into, and then it went to please.
Yep, I just said roll a d20, please. So as you all are kind of like separating off from each other and taking some time to search this kind of general area a little bit closer, where the white lady marked off on Johan's map, and eventually Jin Bao kind of furthest away from the group as far as the rope kind of gives you, you're going to be kind of stumbling through the snow until in just kind of a, let's see something else here. Kind of just in a quick recognition, your eyes are going to go from this like blast of white as you're kind of staring into the actual like ice and snow of this blizzard to this monolith of just black stands in front of you, and it is just a jet black. When you get close enough to it, you're going to see that it has a very stone-like kind of structure, about 20 feet kind of stabbing out of the actual snow around you. And let me get a perception check from you, Jimbo. So as you kind of start to see this thing, you've got this like rock monolith in front of you, um, probably about twice your height, and it's at this point you can kind of like start to tug on the rope to kind of start to gather everybody off to yourself, having found the spire.
Yeah, found something.
What'd you find?
something I know you'll find interesting, Trey.
I'm already.
Is it more booze?
So Brannick will definitely kind of look excited as he, following the tugs of rope and eventually making his way back, to Jinbao and the others, and catching sight of this monolith. He's gonna try and get closer to see. Does he see? Are there any like runes carved into it that he can see, or is it smooth? Or he's kind of looking at the outward appearance of the stone, or what looks like stone.
Let me get a perception from you.
I'd also like to check, is like this man-made, or is this like, something magical of like some kind of like quasi deity elsewise?
You can roll an Arcana. That's kind of like a vague look of what you are seeing, as you all probably walk up from like the east side, from the right side of that picture, and basically just see this wall of rock in front of you. I think as you all kind of look over this thing, you're going to see plenty of signs where this is uh, not specifically like a magical creation. This is pretty kind of clearly like worked stone.
Okay. Do we does this do y'all think this was maybe like, point of reference, or um before all this came by, or what do y'all think?
As far as your search for any markings on it, Brennick, you're going to find that this thing is very smooth work stone. There doesn't seem to be next to any sign of any sort of kind of I don't want to say damage, but the area that's kind of protruding from the snow is almost like a perfect kind of oval, and very perfectly smooth. It's not until you look towards the parts that are actually kind of like covered in snow, and actually like jutting furthest out of the actual ice that you can see anything that shows signs that this is like actually damaged.
Okay. Sorry, Trey. Were you going to say something else before?
Oh no, that was it. Is what do you think this was used for? I mean, this is man-made. This is sculpted.
Yes, I wonder if should have brought shovels. Perhaps there's more. I mean, who knows how long it's been here? See if it goes further down, or
Can I with my smithing tools, can I take out like my smithing hammer and not hit it hard, but tap on it, just kind of test the hardness of whatever material this is, or do I recognize what kind of material this is?
You can certainly tap on it and make a history check. Do you have proficiency in history? I should say, if you don't have proficiency, you can add it for your smith.
I do have I do have proficiency in history.
Gotcha. Um, so yeah, just kind of checking this out. It seems like an incredibly hard surface. From what you can tell, though, it's not anything clear to you.
Can I tell if there's anything unusual about it myself? What for looks?
It is a giant black structure sticking out of snow. What kind of unusual are you looking for? Because, yes, that should be unusual to you.
I'm looking for any magical properties that may be either in it or affecting it.
Do you want to cast a spell? Otherwise, you can do an Arcana check.
Actually, yeah, let me check and see if I have it. I think I do. Okay, yeah, I'm casting Detect Magic.
So, with Detect Magic going, you're going to spot whoever is carrying that chainmail, whoever is carrying the amulet from Johann. I believe you all got a potion or two in that little pile of loot as well. But effectively, you're going to quickly spot everybody who's carrying magical items inside of this group right now. And among other things, let me have a perception check from you at disadvantage. There is the ever so faintest glow of magic emanating from this thing. It doesn't seem to attribute any given school, perhaps. It's far too faint to be distinguished by what kind of magic. But the entire black surface of this thing seems to emanate just the slightest bit of magic, almost as if it is entirely residual. And at one point, this entire structure was very magical.
There's no distinguishing markings on the rock at all.
Not that Brennan could find.
I would like to try to just give it a once over real close.
Not going to find anything in particular. Let me have a round of perceptions from all of you. Velixis, as you're kind of like traveling around trying to get like a sight over this thing, to look at this structure and try to kind of like take in all of this very minute aura, kind of like stepping back a little bit further to see if there's something bigger to see about it. Eventually, you're going to come across a point where you are. Let me get a dexterity saving throw from you. Roll low, roll low, roll low. So you're just going to come up to this point where you're just kind of stepping back a little bit and your foot's going to give away. And as you kind of like look to where your foot kind of like slipped into the snow, there's a hole in the snow, and kind of like open up your arms to kind of like feel out how big it is. And it's pretty massive. It's probably maybe 3 of yourself long, and maybe 3 or so of yourself wide. It's probably a pretty solid 12 to 15 foot diameter circle that just plunges into the ice. And it's probably about 60 feet to the west of this structure. Closer to, again, like if the part that kind of juts off to the left in that picture in Discord is the west side, it's probably about 60 feet west of that you find this hole in the ice.
You said the picture in Discord?
Yep, that's the structure that you all see above ground.
Did we didn't think to procure any climbing spelunking equipment, did we?
No, I'm pretty sure we did.
And I know I have rope on me. But Felix just kind of turns to y'all. I was like, I found a hole. Should we explore it?
Yeah, I got some climbing material. I got a rope, grappling hook, some pittons, or pythons, however you want to word or phrase it.
Yeah, I have a climbing kit.
You purchase an actual climbing kit?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank God somebody knows the difference. There's a big difference between having some of the pieces of a climbing kit
Oh,
and
yeah.
actually having purchased it. Um, an actual harness will not break your back if you fall. If you tie a rope harness and you do it incorrectly, pretty much if you tie a rope harness, you're more than likely going to break your back with a good enough fall. But yeah, you have a harness. You can mount a 3-point. Do you have proficiency with a climbing kit?
I do not believe so.
Gotcha. So I mean that's already kind of included in the actual role of how things work. You guys won't necessarily get a proficiency bonus, but you can create a 3-point round comes to mind, but points to at which you can kind of lower yourselves into this area. But if you all are interested and ready, you can certainly start to lower yourselves down.
Brannick might suggest that maybe we try and get, if we can try and get a sense of like how deep it goes. So he might, if they can get a torch lit, then he would cast Mage Hand and try and have that kind of bring it down through the hole to see if they can kind of illuminate any further before they actually climb in.
So I think moving down the hole with the torch, you're going to lose sight of the mage hand about 15 or 20 feet down before it seems like the tunnel is going, basically that it's kind of to the side, almost like it's going like at a 60-degree angle down, and then there's a point where it kind of like drops straight down, and I think you can't move the mage hand once you can't see it.
Yeah, I know there's a range on it, so I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's not that far. I don't know, maybe like,
Yeah, I think it's 30-foot range on the mage hand, and it'll be pretty well before that you'll actually lose the ability to move it because of the sight lines of it. But if you start to lower yourself down, you can certainly explore ahead of you with the light 30 feet ahead of you in the mage hand.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just looking at it. It said it disappears from me if it ever gets more than 30 feet away. But no, that makes sense to have it kind of like leading with the light. Yeah, so we have a light source when we uh, start going down.
Does it sound like a plan then? Lower Brennick first?
No,
I'm
let's put Trey down first this time.
Are you sure? Like, I'm better as an anchor point to bring. I mean, are y'all able to handle my weight?
I know I can't.
Well, if not you, then me. Like we should let the casters go first again.
I agree. I say you go down, then Brannick, and then Velixis, and then myself.
I mean, depending on how far behind you, Jinbao, I go, I can still kind of at least give you a little bit of maybe light guidance with the. So, like, if I'm 10 feet behind you, I can have the mage hand basically 20 feet below you. I don't know how far we want to. How far do you want to? Were you thinking like of spreading out on the way down?
Well, we should definitely secure ourselves by rope and I don't know, every 10 feet or so, I guess.
Okay, I guess let's get started.
So I'll let them lower me down.
All right, you're right back to you have a single climbing kit. So that means Brannick is going without a harness, but he's going to go right behind you.
Yeah. Nobody else has a kit.
Nope.
Well, but I wonder if I could. I don't think I'll be able to do that.
Well,
But
can I? You said it was a 60-degree angle for 15 feet, and that's where the hand disappeared.
Yeah, pretty much about like 15, 20 feet down the hole. He is not able to move the hand because he can't see it anymore. The hand's not disappearing. It's not dropping the torch. That's just the extent of how far he can see.
So, look, but what I'm saying is, is the hole straight down initially or at an angle?
No, it's at an angle.
Well,
Is it ice going down, or is it just snow on the sides of it?
I mean, there's certainly snow stuck to it, but like most things here, this is permafrost, so it's pretty much ice that could have been here for a year, ice that could have been here for 100 years, or ice that could have been here for a day. Most of this earth is, like inches of fresh snow and then permafrost. Like when you guys were cutting any level of an igloo, you're still cutting through ice for a lot of building an igloo into the snow.
Yeah, just checking. It's right underneath by an obelisk. So it's like, is this hole different from standard permafrost holes? Kind of thing. All right, cool. Thank you.
I just remembered something. Hey, Brannick, you would happen to know any spells that could help us fall without getting injured? Would you? I don't have one.
Unfortunately, that's not in my repertoire either.
well, I have slow fall, so I guess the best thing to do would be to give the kit to Brannick.
Are you able to use that on all of us, or is it just self?
No, that's
Just a
just
monk's
self.
trait.
I'm sorry, everybody cut out right there, like it roboted.
It's not a spell, it's a monk trait. Monks can't take falling damage, pretty much.
Hacks. I'll call fucking hacks.
Yeah, I mean, Brennick's willing to try and go down and kind of get a look and see how far down this goes and what it looks like if someone wants to, if Jinbao can kind of show him, how to use the kit and stuff a little bit.
So if we're going to have Jimbao tying a rope around his waist and basically going down, and then Brennick, who's following with the actual climber's kit, let me have Jinbao make a strength check for me. So the two of you can descend. As you're kind of going down into this hole, there's going to be that kind of point where Brennick lost sight of the actual hand previously, and kind of like looking down as you come over this kind of lip, you're going to see as the tunnel kind of turns back around and starts to travel under that same area in pretty much the same degree, vaguely, like 60 degrees or so, a little bit more down than it is going like across. And you can draw out the torch for about 30 feet or so, and you can see the faint signs of the lights getting to another point where it seems like the tunnel's going to turn. But as you lower yourself a little bit more, you're going to come to the point where again you can like lower the actual mage hand, but it's going to leave your sight, and that's where you have to kind of stop it at what appears to be another one of these turns. Let me get an intelligence check from Jinbao and Brennick.
And this
I guess it could be wisdom actually instead of intelligence. My bad. What were you thinking?
the second, just to clarify, so the second turn that's still also going like down, right? Or is it more perpendicular to where it was?
Effectively still down. Like it's basically you're coming to a turn that seems like the turn that you are currently at.
Okay, gotcha.
Jinbao, you are pretty sure from what you've seen, you could slide down this with little to no risk.
So calling back up to the guys, scoots on your butts. It should be safe from what we can tell.
Are you telling that while you guys are right where you're at?
Well, we got to go back to the opening part.
All right, so you can have them kind of back you up, and you're going to basically say everybody can just scoot on their butt.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Like you mean just slide on down?
Just like when you were a kid.
Is the like the permafrost too hard? So like if we wanted to try to slow our descent, like if we had like a blade or something to try to like create some friction, is it too hard for that, or are we able to kind of like almost like dig in a blade and try to just like not stop but slow the rate of descent just in case?
You could certainly try, but this is precisely why climbing pickaxes are fashioned how they are, is so that the leverage that would tear a dagger out of your hand actually like yanks the handle into the ice, so the pick actually bites deeper into the ice. You want that like triangle. If you try to do something with a dagger, you're probably just going to have a dagger that is falling above you instead of a dagger that's in your hand.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, if Brennick he's willing to trust Jin Bao, so if Jin Bao says he thinks they can kind of get down there that way, then he'll follow his lead.
Well, let's just
So
wait to see if he makes it down safely by doing that.
Jimbo is about to slide down and Brennick's going to follow.
Wait, I thought they were sliding down to where we were.
No, that was the point that I was making. Like, were you telling them to slide down to you while you all are still in the tunnel?
We were in the first section, right? It was angled down, leveled off, down the corridor, another downward turn.
So I think we probably want to either have the two of us go down and until we, see if we reach like a level surface so that we can get out of the way so we don't get like knocked off if they come down after us.
So that right now is the first turn where Brennick lost sight of his mage hand. The two of you are now looking at what appears to be kind of a mirror of that continues down. And just beyond his sight, Brennick is basically pretty sure that he sees the tunnel doing the same thing. My point was that Jin Bao, you see signs that you can effectively slide down this tunnel with very little danger. But you guys are still in the middle of the tunnel. You're still effectively kind of like roughly about there. The mage hand would be roughly about here.
Well, I mean, I I guess it's better to leave somebody up top. I don't know, Brandon. What do you think?
I imagine sound would carry fairly well through a tunnel like this, so we could, one of us or the two of us could try and see how far down this goes and then try and get Ward back up top.
You two definitely, like, just having a basic conversation in this can hear the actual, like, like when you, if you ever like speak inside of like I want to say a sewer pipe, but I just mean like a half pipe kind of thing. The way like a hard surface and especially a circular surface kind of like reverberates your voice. This is 100% doing it. Um, and you guys are, you know, close to where like the actual exit is. You're pretty sure if you were to yell from wherever in this, it's going to travel to where they are.
Well, I think we're better off together than splitting forces. I mean, never split the party. That's my motto.
So continuing to lower.
I vote we call for them to come down to where we are.
Okay, but just I mean, if we can hear this, I mean, if you don't want to split the party, I can understand the safety, aspect. So let's go. That's my thought.
So that's Trey jumping down the tube.
Oh yeah, straight on like kid on a water slide. Like, well, he said act like a kid. Let's see how this goes.
Let me get a dexterity save from Jinbao, Brennick, and from Trey, please.
Brannick's kind of saw this coming, so he's gonna go ahead and take an 18 on his roll here. Oh,
Yes.
What a great use of resources right there. So Brennick watching this happen in his head a little bit beforehand, definitely kind of sees a possible future that you are able to dodge away from the bullet that has become Trey as he kind of flies past you all. And you see as he's kind of like manipulating this little area and he swings around the curve, kind of going behind you all, slides down this area past your mage hand, and he's going to do the same thing for the curve below, where Trey, you are then going to be in darkness before, after another few feet of kind of sliding, you're just going to come to a stop. You are on your back on the ground, but you don't feel injured. Kind of hear that weird, like, kind of echo of, like, the last few sounds of your skidding, that you feel like you're in a small room. But that's kind of it for now.
Okay, I'll just yell back up. All right, we're good. Let's go. That was a lot of fun. You're fully right, Jimbao. Let's go.
Oh, actually, my apologies. I forgot. You actually are in a well-lit room. You're going to see as there's kind of like crumbled stone on the ground around you. There is light that is being cast from these sconces that are about 10 feet in front of you, and they are on the wall about 15 feet above your head, and the flames are burning down towards the ground, and you see all of the light is being cast down at the ground. And kind of looking around takes you a few moments to notice that the arch that's in between those two sconces is close to the ceiling, about 10 feet above your head, and the arch kind of like comes down, and there's a door on the roof of this building that's leading off to the east of you.
Okay, then I won't be loud and shout up. I'll whisper up, which should still travel, and say, "We may have company. Be quiet on your way down."
Make a performance check. Let's see what kind of whisper this is.
Everyone outside would totally still heard me yelling, "Woo!" But that part would be whispered.
You guys hear the faintest sound of Trey from below saying, "We may have company. Be quiet."
So Braddock's gonna glance at Jin Bao and hear you. What do you think?
So you all eventually arrive to the same point where Trey is, and that's where we're gonna call it.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Braddock would have.
Yeah, like on some level, him jumping down was part of me trying to tell you guys you're taking this way too cautiously. But the good thing about being cautious in the least bit is Brennick and Jinbao are going down with ropes. You all have ropes that are leading you out of this place. We will pick up with what you all would like to make a decision-wise from that point, but we are going to assume from this point on that you all have the full group down here, including Velixis,